He sold himself as Israel's savior. But what if that savior needed a constant state of war just to feel alive? This is the mind of Benjamin Netanyahu, not just the politician, but the orchestrator of fear, the dealer of division, and perhaps the most psychologically dangerous man in modern Israeli history. Born into the ideology of survival, Benjamin Netanyahu was raised on a steady diet of historical grievance. His father, Benzion Netanyahu, a radical Zionist, believed Jews were perpetually one step from annihilation, and he passed this apocalyptic lens onto his son. Benjamin didn't just grow up, he weaponized that upbringing. He joined Sayeret Matkal, Israel's elite special forces, not just to serve but to perform. And after war came media. America, CNN, Harvard. He became the polished Israeli prototype for a global stage. He didn't climb the ladder, he slid up it, using blood, charisma, and tragedy. In 1996, he seized power. By 2000, he was ousted. By 2009, he returned. And he would stay, not by leading, but by manipulating. He built a populist machine, vilified the left, branded dissent as treason, stoked existential panic again and again. And then came the indictments. One was called Case 1000, but it might as well be called Champagne and Cigars for Power. According to prosecutors, Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah received luxury gifts worth over $200,000 from billionaire friends, including Hollywood producer Arnon Milchan and Australian mogul James Packer. These weren't birthday presents, they were recurring tributes. Cases of pink champagne for Sarah, boxes of Cohiba cigars for Benjamin, sent like clockwork. In return, Netanyahu allegedly tried to extend Milchan's U.S. visa, pushed for tax breaks on his behalf, and even helped him invest in Israeli media. Netanyahu once said, "There's no such thing as a free lunch." He forgot to mention the cigars and rosé. This wasn't just corruption. It was personal luxury disguised as statecraft. A leader treating national influence like a private currency, spent on indulgence, cloaked in diplomacy. In Case 2000, we don't find cigars or champagne. We find something more valuable: control of public perception. In secret recordings, Netanyahu is heard discussing a deal with Arnon Moses, publisher of Yedioth Aharonoth, one of Israel's biggest newspapers. The proposed trade? Netanyahu would weaken a rival right-wing paper, Israel Hayom, in exchange for more favorable coverage from Moses's paper. Think about that. A prime minister negotiating headlines, the way a gangster negotiates turf. Critics call it a threat to press freedom. Analysts call it soft authoritarianism. Psychologists call it what it is: strategic narcissism, the belief that truth itself should serve the ego. Netanyahu claims he never followed through, that he was just talking. But in psychology, intention reveals pathology, not just action. Case 4000 isn't just Netanyahu's biggest legal threat. It is the most audacious merging of media, money, and manipulation in Israeli political history. At the center is a quid pro quo so bold, it could pass for satire. As Prime Minister and Communications Minister, Netanyahu allegedly pushed through regulatory changes worth up to $500 million to Bezek, Israel's largest telecom company. In return, the company's news site, Walla, agreed to run softball interviews, delete critical headlines, and paint Netanyahu as Israel's misunderstood patriarch. This wasn't media influence. This was editorial puppeteering, down to the pictures chosen, the quotes published, and even what not to ask in interviews. It's not just unethical, it's clinical obsession, a pathological need to dominate every mirror he looks into, especially the one that reflects him back to the nation. In response, Netanyahu deflected, blamed the judiciary, framed himself as the eternal victim. But Case 4000 laid bare the real fear, not of jail, but of losing control of the narrative. So what drives him? Netanyahu exhibits traits of malignant narcissism, a cocktail of narcissism, paranoia, antisocial behavior, and sadism. Obsessive self-validation, requiring constant adoration, even at the cost of national unity. Strategic victimhood, where every legal challenge becomes a conspiracy. Paranoid hostility, fueled by an inner belief, everyone is out to betray me. Historical grandiosity, seeing himself as Israel's final protector, or last king. He is not simply clinging to power. He needs it, like an addict needs a fix. Not for greed, but for identity. That's why he attacks judges. That's why he embraces extremists. That's why he'd sooner collapse a democracy than lose a microphone. As of 2024, Netanyahu faces mass protests. His judicial overhaul plan threatens the democratic framework of Israel itself. He's allied with ultranationalists, anti-LGBT forces, and religious extremists, all to shield himself from legal accountability. When your ego becomes larger than your nation, your fall takes everyone with you. If Benjamin Netanyahu were a patient, his diagnosis would be severe. But in politics, pathology is not treated, it is rewarded. His legacy is not a peace accord, it is polarization. It is a society ripped apart by one man's refusal to be anything less than a messiah. In a 1993 interview, Netanyahu was asked if he believed in compromise. He smiled and said, "Only if it gets me what I want." If this breakdown opened your eyes, wait till you see what we uncover next. Subscribe for the psychological dissection of darkest minds.